Okay, so 14 days, 2 weeks on ketosis, and I have the results here. And we'll start with the results because I know that's what most people are interested in. Then I just want to talk about my experience with A-Life Plus, who, if you don't know, have been home delivering my keto meals for me. Now, this is not sponsored by them. They have given a discount, which I'll put below, Pageant Project 5. And it's a pageant project because that's why I originally posted. I work with pageant girls, long story. Not sponsored by them, these are just my honest thoughts. So I started on the 1st of November. I did take a reading on the 31st of October. This is using my Tanita scales upstairs. Now, to be very clear, these scales are not known for being accurate. But what you can do, as long as you measure at the same time every day, roughly, then you can watch the trends. So the trends are accurate, the exact numbers are not. So I mean the weight, I'm not interested in the weight, but the weight on the 1st of November, now it's the 14th of November when I'm recording this, 83.7 kilos. The weight today, 81.8. The first few days of keto, it's not unusual, by the way, to lose quite like maybe a kilo or a couple of pounds of weight straight away. That's not the body weight leaving, as I understand it. That's not the body weight disappearing, as I understand it. That's because when your body's holding on to carbs, it needs a certain amount of water to hold on. To store those carbs, once you get rid of those carbs, and your body can flush the water. So one of the other things you'll notice during ketosis, when you enter ketosis, that you start peeing a lot. It's completely normal. So the weight's gone down by a couple of kilos. The body fat percentage, again, not accurate, but looking at the trends, started at 21.4. Today came up as 19%. It did go as low as 16.4%, but again, I don't want to trust the numbers as being completely accurate. That's just maybe like an aberration of a measurement, but it's definitely gone down, and again, that's been fairly consistent. Other things that the Tanita scale gives you, this one is metabolic age, which I like because you want your metabolic age to be younger than your chronological age. So me being in my mid-40s, the 1st of November I was measured at 41. It's now down to 34. It did get as low as 30, so that's good. So one of the other things that I am very interested in, and I got interested in this when I was back doing Herbalife, which I don't do anymore, is visceral fat, which is a fat in and around your organs. You can't see it, but it's extremely detrimental to your health. So it's very, very dangerous. It puts a lot of stress on your organs, as I understand, and you can't see it. It's not the six-pack thing, it's just inside. That started at 8.5, and that was a lot higher than I wanted. It's now down to 7.5, which is great. It did get as low as 6.5, but it's definitely trending down, which is the main thing. And then another measurement which I am interested in much more than weight, it's the waist measurement, as in, circumference around my waist. And on the 1st November, that was at 91 centimeters, and it's now down to 88. So that's 3 centimeters or a little more over an inch off over the 2 weeks so far. So results wise, it's going fantastically well. And I say that because during doing this diet, and I'll use that term loosely, because I haven't felt like I've been restricted at all. I've been really enjoying the meals. It's not like when I used to be a raw foodist or a vegan, there are so many things you can't eat. I don't feel like I'm depriving myself at all, which is a huge thing if you're going to stick on this diet long term, which you could do. And I haven't been, and this is really important, get this, I have not been calorie restricting at all. So A-Life Plus has 250 gram meal, like a smaller meal size and a larger meal size. The smaller meal size, calorically speaking, is probably more suitable for a woman, because women in general have a lower energy requirement. I think it's maybe 1,500 calories a day, don't quote me on that, but something like that, whereas the average male is supposed to be about 2,000. So I've been actually eating what I need, calorically speaking, more or less. I've been having the larger meals. Let me just move so you don't have to see the sun. I've actually not been calorically depriving myself at all. Now that's huge, because all those numbers that I just said, all those losses, those beneficial gains or losses, they've not come because I've been starving myself. And I really didn't want to go down the route of caloric deprivation as kind of just an interesting test to see if you can lose weight without depriving yourself of calories. Don't get me wrong, I'm not in a huge surplus either. I'm not eating 16,000 calories a day, but I'm eating more or less what would be considered maintenance, and you can see the numbers. But the other thing that I was concerned about, given the research that I did, was that if you, and my own experience, if you deprive yourself of calories for a consistent amount of time and to a significant degree, you lower what's called your basal metabolic rate, which is just how much, it's a fancy term for how much does your body burn just to keep itself alive. And by the way, that number is a lot bigger than you'll burn off doing exercise. So one of the best ways to lose weight is to boost your basal metabolic rate. Basically means add muscle mass so that you're burning more even when you're sitting on your butt. And so that's why I've been doing some weights work with kettlebells. But I was doing that before the diet. I just got a slightly heavier one now. And the other thing is, I should mention, I haven't changed my exercise. I haven't gone on a crazy exercise regime at all. Just a couple of times kettlebell swinging, which I was doing before. I play tennis once a week, which I was doing before. I've been trying to incorporate morning walks and more walking as a low impact, low intensity form of exercise. It's good for recovery after the swings. But again, I was doing that before. So I didn't want to calorically deprive myself, because I do believe that lowers your basal metabolic rate. And then after you come off the diet, or when you eat normally again, if you want to, then you end up putting all the weight back on and more. And this is where you see the yo-yo dieting that a lot of people deal with. It's because I think, and this is why, like, there was a meme somewhere saying there's a reason you never see a reunion show for The Biggest Loser. It's because they've all got put on the weight again and then some. Because I haven't watched the show, but from what my understanding is, a very intense exercise and caloric deprivation. So of course you lose weight in the short term. Long term might just be 3 or 6 months down the track. If you tank your basal metabolic rate and you start eating normal maintenance, what would have been normal maintenance for you before, you start putting on weight, and you go like, why? Well, this was maintenance before. Now why am I putting on weight? It's because your basal metabolic rate has gone down. So for me, it was important to eat at least maintenance and to maintain muscle mass, which intermittent fasting, which I've also done in the past, is proven, at least according to Dr. Jason Fung, who I highly recommend you go and search on YouTube. Intermittent fasting is shown to maintain muscle mass. Keto, I'm not so sure, but caloric deprivation is shown, as I understand it, to decrease muscle mass. That's why I don't want to look at weight. I don't want to be losing muscle mass, because muscle, as you get older, is the first thing you lose. But also muscle is the main thing in your basal metabolic rate. That's the main thing that's burning energy. Fat's not burning fat. Your gut's not burning energy. It's the muscle. So if you increase your muscle mass, even though you're losing fat, even though your body weight may stay the same, you will be burning more, even when you're sitting on your butt, because your BMR has gone up. So that's the background of why I wanted to go into ketosis. One of my friends who has ADHD, she saw that I was doing it, and she mentioned she had recently started doing keto as well, because of the effects on keto. Started, I believe, as a way of treating epilepsy. I don't know if it started that way, but it was used to treat people with epilepsy back in the day. And then she had done research showing that there's some similarities between brain waves or brain activity or brain structure, I can't quite remember, in people with epilepsy and ADHD. So she was using it as a way of maybe helping with her ADHD problems. Now, as someone who very likely has ADHD himself, I thought that was even more interesting. The other thing I will say before getting onto A Life Plus, some of the other benefits which aren't written here, I've had a lot less of an energy dip in the afternoon. I was struggling about 2 p.m., about 3 p.m., that I would just have to go and take a nap because I would be so zoned out. Now, it's not completely gone, but it's almost completely gone, as in I can soldier through the day without having to have a nap in the late afternoon to early evening. The other thing I will say, this has been huge, my quality of sleep has gone through the roof. Now you may not appreciate that if you sleep soundly, but as someone who routinely was waking up at like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, to go to sleep and then not wake up until when I want to wake up has been absolutely huge. And I'm not accustomed to that. It was really probably one of the biggest biggest side benefits. I mean, I'm not going to call it a side benefit because quality of sleep is huge, even for weight loss. A lot of people talk about the need to get good quality sleep, and it's not like I was trying to get bad quality sleep, but going on whatever I tried, it wouldn't work. People would say, come off caffeine. Still couldn't sleep. In fact, maybe because of ADHD, this is another thing I found out. When I have caffeine, I can sleep more easily. There's a whole reason behind that, which I won't get into. But this is the first time that in years, probably decades, that I would say that my sleep quality has been normal, which for me is great compared to what it was before. So that's been a side benefit. The energy has been much more stable. And as I said, if you're someone who's looking to lose fat, not weight, although I've lost weight as well, if you're looking for either of those things, or you just want to live long, I mean, who cares if you live to 100 if you can't move when you're 50, right? That's my big thing. So I want to be healthy, not just live a long time. The keto diet is by far the easiest one to stick to, by far. As someone who's tried vegan diet, raw food diet, caloric deprivation, intermittent fasting, everything, going on shakes and all that, this one doesn't feel like deprivation at all. Now, I'm pretty good, I will say, I'm pretty good with saying I don't want to eat something because I like experimenting on myself. So I do find it quite easy. Even when I went on the vegan diet, it's like, no, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, I can't eat that. I didn't find it as difficult as some people do. But even given that, the keto diet to me doesn't feel like deprivation at all. Mainly because the only thing I really feel like I'm missing out is on brown rice. I was not eating white rice before this. I don't like white rice and I don't like white bread because I found they weren't making me feel good. And if you look at the carbs in white bread, for example, it's basically a lolly. It's basically sugar. It's empty calories. That's the way I look at it, white carbs or processed carbs. It's all these calories and there's literally no nutrients in it. So it's a waste. But this is and when I say the keto diet is the easiest to stick to, there's a big caveat to that. And this is where we get onto the A Life Plus meals, or anyone who home delivers you keto meals. Keto diet is probably the hardest to prep for in terms of meal prep. Because you think about it, you need to do your energy equations and then work out. Now, keto is not a high protein diet. That's where everyone goes wrong. Keto is actually a high fat diet, low carb diet, with the rest coming from protein. Now, the exact percentages I don't know, but a lot of people say, okay, carbs, first off, net carbs, you got to be 20 grams or less per day. It differs for different people. I'd say somewhere between 20, I think someone said 50, somewhere between that range. So you got to keep the carbs below that level, net carbs. Then the remaining energy that you need for the day, I think the equation is roughly about 50% fat and then the rest from protein. So this is where you can go wrong if you just eat protein, because if you eat too much protein, I don't remember the name exactly, I think it might be gluconeogenesis, but there's some process where if you have no carbs, you're taking in no carbs, but you just eat protein, your body kind of turns it into carbs, and so you come out of ketosis. And then you go, well, it's not working for me. And that's because you actually it's mainly fat. Now here's a problem. You go, okay, I got it. It's a high fat, medium protein, low carbs. How do you prepare for that? You go to the supermarket, for example, and you're going to have to start from scratch with everything. You can't have homemade sauce. It's like, good luck to you if you put ketchup or tomato sauce or barbecue sauce on a steak, or even mustard. You've got to look at it and go, how many carbs are in there? And by the way, if you have a look, tomato sauce, for example, at least here in Australia, it's filled with sugar. That's why it tastes good. It's filled with sugar and salt. So you can't have that. So preparing effectively for keto, you have to educate yourself so much about what you can eat, what you can't eat. You have to measure your macros. As I said, you can't just eat protein because then you'll kick yourself out of ketosis. And then you still want to have some sort of variety, and then you want to make sure that you're still getting enough fiber in your diet. Like if you just have protein, one of the things you'll miss out on is fiber, which is extremely important for your health and avoiding certain types of cancer. And I did try this. As I said, I'm someone who loves experimenting, but even for me, it was overwhelming and got boring very quickly trying to make sure I stayed in ketosis whilst preparing my meals at home. So I thought, you know what, coming to the end of this year, let's do this properly. And the only way I could think of doing it was to have someone else prepare the meals for me, deliver them to me, and I didn't have to think about it. I just knew if I ate this, my macros were exactly what they needed to be, and I would go into ketosis. This is why A Life Plus for me has been a godsend. Now, you might say, okay, Adrian, but there are other home delivery options out there. Absolutely. But in terms of the ease of ordering for a week, because I didn't want to order one every day. So in terms of just being able to order for either 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day, so lunch and dinner a day, or breakfast, lunch and dinner a day, in terms of the ease of ordering, A Life Plus just has this one where you go 7-day keto plan and you just order it. You don't have to make any choices. It's cool. That was so much easier than some other ones where you had to pick literally every meal. I will say A Life Plus allows you to pick every meal if you want, so you have both options. But if you just want to get into it, and you just like, I want to try this for 7 days, 14 days, just 7-day meal plan, go. And then you can have lunch and dinner, or breakfast, lunch and dinner, or pretty much any combination you want. I will say A Life Plus does more than just keto meals, but this is what I used it for. So the ease of ordering, because I didn't want to spend my whole time trying to pick out individual meals. And then the other thing was having the different sizes. Remember, I told you, women on average need less energy than men. And a lot of the home delivery options, if you have a look, they're calorically balanced around women. So if you're getting only around 1,500 calories a day, that's appropriate for women. But if you're a dude, that's caloric deprivation, which, as I told you, I didn't want to go into. So they're also one of the only ones that have the, let's say, the man size option, right? Because otherwise you would go into caloric deprivation if the meals are too small, and then that has some negative side effects such as lowering your BMR, muscle loss, all that stuff, which I didn't want to go into. Or you have to find some way of making up those calories yourself, in which case you end up with the issues, you run up against the issues that I told you about trying to make your own keto meals. Like, you very easily take yourself out of ketosis without even knowing it, and it can take 2, 3, 4 days to get back into it. So it's a huge waste of time. So, and then the last part here, A-Life, I've been very happy with how they deliver it. It's delivered straight to my front door. It comes in 2 big boxes. It's wrapped in an insulated foil on the inside. Their ice packs are amazingly good. The first week I got them was really hot, and I was like, I want to see how good these ice packs are in case I'm not home when they deliver them, to make sure they stay fresh, because the meals are never frozen. That's not the big thing. They're prepared fresh. They never get frozen unless you freeze them. So they have to be shipped with ice packs to keep them fresh. I was like, I want to see how good these ice packs are. And I left them out on a day that was probably 80 degrees Fahrenheit or over 30 degrees Celsius here. Left them out the whole day. By the end of the day, they still hadn't melted. So the food arrives fresh, not frozen. The ice packs work exceedingly well. They delivered straight to my door. It's not like the other day, Australia Post, someone just left my violin string in the driveway when they could have put it in the post box. So I'm not dealing with really crappy delivery drivers. Oops, sorry, sun's moving again. And then, forgive the mops in the background. We're keeping it real here. And then the other part of it is you actually get an email saying ETA on the delivery is about 10 minutes. We're coming in about 10 minutes. And then if you're not home, as I wasn't home yesterday, you get texts from A-Life saying your A-Life has been delivered, and they give you a photo. They send you a photo of where it is, so you know it's been delivered and it's been delivered to the right place. Now I say this because you know what it's like, at least getting deliveries here in Australia. They say, oh, we might turn up sometime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and so you have to be at home, because if you're not at home then we won't deliver it. And then you stay at home the whole day, you leave your front door open, and then no one rings the door, and then you get this message saying, oh, we tried delivering to you, you weren't at home, and you're like, what the? And then you don't get your delivery, then you need to go to the post. All that nonsense, at least here in Australia, I don't have to deal with A-Life Plus. So getting that email when they're 10 minutes out is cool, because I work from home. So it's like, yes, it's coming now. I can meet the person at the door if I want to, or even if you're not, you're like, okay, let's say you're working in an office, you get the email say, okay, it's being delivered now. So maybe if someone's at home, they can take the delivery for you. But even if there isn't anyone, you have that peace of mind knowing it has been delivered, where it's been delivered, because they send you that photo. And as I said, the ice packs keep it fresh. So I've been super happy with A Life Plus, I will say I made some content around my keto journey and tagged A Life Plus because, you know, why not? And they reached out to me and said, hey, we love your content, and you know, we want to give you a discount code, which, as I said, is Pageant Project 5, no spaces, and I think it's a 5% discount. That's why it's called Pageant Project 5. I didn't ask for that, I didn't expect it, and as I said, they're not paying me, this is not sponsored in any way. I would highly recommend, though, that you give them a go for the multitude of reasons that I've just said. Also, the customer service, as I said, has been phenomenal from my perspective. So I'm sure I know there are other Meal Life options out there, but for me, ease of ordering, flexibility of ordering, whether you just want to say, give me whatever you got, or you want to pick the meals individually. And then the other thing I will say is that the meal variety is huge. Like the first 2 weeks, so lunch and dinner, I had breakfast, but leave the breakfast out of it. Lunch and dinner, 2 meals a day for 14 days, 28 meals. And I don't remember having the same meal twice. And in fact, it's only even in the 3rd week now where I think I may have gotten to the point at the end of the week 3 that maybe I've tried every single dish. I think there's still some that I haven't tried. But that would be 21 days, 2 meals a day, lunch and dinner. So it's over 40 meals to choose from. So if you want variety and that's important to you, which I think it's important to most people, then they've got it. Never been frozen. I think they taste great. And then if you do get to the point where you're like, I like this, I like this, I like this, I didn't like this, then you can specify which meals you want when you get to that point. But otherwise, at the beginning, if you're looking to just get into ketosis, let's say for 2 weeks or a month, maybe you've got a wedding coming up, maybe it's it's coming up at New Year, so New Year, new me sort of thing. If you just want to get into ketosis for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, to give it a go, don't try and do it yourself. It is almost impossible unless you do all the research, you do all the prep. And even as someone who likes doing that, for me, it was just too difficult, too much. You have to give this A Life Plus or whatever your version of it is where you're at a go, because seriously, it was well worth it. Not just for the measurements, which I started this video with, but the side benefits of getting sleep, for example. I mean, how important is sleep to everything? So, and the ADHD side of it, not having energy slumps, I have been phenomenally impressed and very happy. I don't know that I will stay in ketosis long term. Honestly, I haven't made up my mind yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But what I will say is I've been very happy with it so far. And just last thing, I will say, if you don't have the scales that I do, if you want to measure your progress, the biggest thing I would measure is my waist measurement. So you just need a tape measure. And the big thing is these keto sticks or ketone test strips, which you can just get off Amazon. They're very cheap. There's 125 test strips, and I think it was $10 for $15, $20. And you just put them in your urine stream, and it will show you whether you're in ketosis or not based on whether the little indicator at the end of the strip changes color. This is very important and gives you peace of mind to go, yes, I am in ketosis. So yes, I am burning fat, not sugar. So even if you don't have a scale, and if you just measure weight, I honestly don't recommend that, because if you're like me and you start doing some weightlifting exercise, you're not going to really be losing weight, even though I did. It's not the point. The body weight scales or the Tanita scales that I have slightly different, because I'm looking at the numbers other than weight. But a tape measure for your waist, you can measure your waist, is that going up or down? Because that definitely should be going down. These ketone strips, and I think aside from that, just really give it a go, because I'm at the point now where if anyone that I know has a health issue or wants to reset their body, or they're getting on in age, hitting middle age, having kids, and they're like, I feel like I'm slowing down and I'm, not getting good quality sleep, I would highly recommend them going and trying keto, at least for a couple of weeks, more so than anything else I've tried. And I have tried a lot of things. As I said, everything from being a raw foodist, a vegan, to going on meal replacement shakes, and this by far is the one I would recommend. Bear in mind also, doing it this way, I'm eating real food. I'm not eating shakes. The idea of having the powders that come out of a lab from somewhere and it's somehow supposed to replace your meal, I'm not big on that. But if you have any questions about it, and I'll certainly be going on keto continuing on with my keto journey at least for this week, probably next week as well. I'm going to do like 4 weeks, and then I'll report back with my measurements. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them as best I can. I'm obviously not a nutritionist. I'm just a crazy dude who's fascinated with the best ways to improve his life, improve his body, and human guinea pig sort of thing. So yeah, let me know any of your questions. I will answer them as best as I can. Obviously, I recommend, highly recommend, that you go and see your healthcare professional before doing any of what I've said. But this has just been my experience. And so 2 weeks in, very happy. I'll leave the link to A-Life Plus with the discount code underneath. It's only available in Australia, but I'm sure if you're like in the US or the UK, you will have equivalent services. So yeah, thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know.